Welcome to Link G4x Training Part 26. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at working with our 4 and 5D compensation tables within our PC Link software. So these compensation tables are going to allow us to have a fuel and spark timing offset against our main fuel and spark timing tables. So if we want to go and add additional fuel, let's say based on a gear correction trim, we can utilize a 4 or 5D table to accomplish that. If we want to go in and set up a crackle or a burble tune, we could go and use that based on a switch condition so that we could have that crackle or burble tune and not affect our normal driving. We could essentially have it turn on and off with a switch. We could also utilize our 4 and 5D tables for a variety of other features or functions within our programming routine. So I'm going to go through some common examples that I implement using our 4 or 5D tables so that you can add those into your calibration process and start to use them. So without further wait, let's jump into this video so we can check this out. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at working with our 4D and 5D compensation tables within our PC Link software. What we're going to find is these are going to allow us to have a 4th and 5th dimension of offset or modifying against our fuel and spark timing tables. So we've went over up to this point in the training course, the main fuel table, the main spark timing table. We know what those represent. Main fuel table calculates our injector pulse width or the base injector pulse width, and then we'll find that we have all their compensations being applied on top of that to finally get a corrected actual injector pulse width. So the actual injector pulse width is what we need to deliver for fuel for the engine so that the engine is going to run proper in all conditions. We have our modifier tables like our engine coolant temperature or intake air temp compensation. That's going to be skewing the injector pulse width, either adding or subtracting fuel based on the conditions that we're in so that it delivers the proper fuel in that condition. So the modifier table should make sense as far as our fuel delivery goes. On our spark timing side of things, our main spark timing table is where we calculate our base spark timing amount from, and we're going to have our correction tables or modifier tables based on intake air temperature and engine coolant temperature. If we're looking at our engine coolant temperature, for example, if the engine starts to overheat, we generally want to reduce our spark timing or retard the spark timing so that we can avoid having knock or pre-ignition occur. Same is going to go for our intake air temperature. If the IATs get too high, maybe we have a poorly designed intercooler, or we have really hot ambient temperatures outside, or whatever the case may be, and our intake air temperature is getting really hot, that's going to make the engine more prone to knock and pre-ignition. So we need to reduce or retard the timing using that modifier table against our main spark timing table. So our modifier tables are there in place so that the engine's always going to run proper in these conditions that we can account for. Now, the 4 and 5D tables are essentially that same kind of conceptual idea. They're going to be modifier tables against our main fuel and spark timing tables, just the same way we would find intake air temp and coolant temp correction based modifier tables. So it's going to be left up to us how we want to go and set up our 4 and 5D tables. We have a tremendous amount of flexibility in the programming. I'm going to go walk you through a couple common examples that I use and implement my 4 and 5D tables for. So first thing we're going to do is jump from our basics page here, and we're going to move across into our specific page labeled 4D/5D. Within this page here, we're going to find that we have our 4D fuel table, 4D ignition table, and a 5D fuel table and a 5D ignition table. Now down below we have some of the programming details. Turn these specific tables on. Now a couple of things about this that I want to point out. We're able to implement a 5D table and not a 4D table. We're also able to implement a 4D table and not a 5D table, so it's going to be left up to us how we want to go and actually turn these features on. We can implement both a 4D table and a 5D table at the same time. We also, if we're taking a look at this, independently can enable a 4D fuel table, for example here, and then go in and set up a 5D ignition timing table, but never actually work with the 4D ignition or the 5D fuel. So we can mix and match how we apply these tables here based on all kinds of conditions. Likewise, we could be into our 4D fuel table and apply fuel in a very specific manner, and we could have our 4D ignition timing table be set up completely different for compensation factors. So essentially, we would have 4 independent tables as far as our offsets go, if we wanted to go and offset fuel and spark timing, depending on how we configure these. Or, for example, if we're looking at our very first example here, something like gear correction, we could use just our 4D fuel and 4D ignition timing tables here to offset any kind of differences in our gear as we're driving. So we could pair these together and have the axes set up the same, so the tables are going to be applying the same kind of correction, but just one based on fuel, one based on ignition. So again, tremendous amount of flexibility, a lot of configurability here, and we really need to understand what we're doing with them just so that we can make sure that they're applied properly. So our very first example. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.